Guess who it is? It's me, Mr. Plinkett. And I'm here to do a review of a movie that I really enjoyed. It's a movie that I used to watch back when I was in my 70s. It's called Soylent Green. There's been a lot of talk about soy lately on the internet. I figured, if I talk about this movie, maybe it's more relevant now than it was back when it came out. Now, this movie's got a lot of interesting aspects to it. It's a movie from way back in 1973. And it seems to have predicted a lot of things about how society looks in the 2020s. So it's kind of interesting to talk about it. Or at least it's interesting to me, which is all I care about. Oh, look, we got all the Ford Model Ts. I remember driving one of those back when I was a kid. They were pretty fun to drive. Back then, going like 20 miles an hour was a fucking dream. You could never have imagined that you could go that fast on your own in a car. Before that, it was only trains that went that fast. Okay, so we got this fast-paced YouTube poop montage of all these kind of things talking about society. And of course it focuses on only the negative aspects of society. You got people wearing masks, you got industrial pollution, war, whatever. You got a lot of things that are natural to humans. Because when we make our little human beehives, there's always going to be some fallout. There's always going to be some garbage produced. The fuck is with all these people wearing masks? Is that because of pollution? Did this movie predict COVID? Hashtag Soylent Greene predicted COVID. Oh my god. All the conspiracies are real. You're not gonna get me with that shit. I've been alive long enough to know most things are bullshit. Truths and lies. They're all bullshit. Oh, it's 2022. The place, New York. Population 40 million. Well, I don't think New York's reached that level. In fact, I don't know what the population of New York is now. Pretty sure it's under 10 million. New York couldn't handle a population that big. I mean, I could look up a statistic for you guys, but might as well just do it yourselves. Why would I do it for you? I'm already making the commentary for nothing. So our main character gets out of bed, and he's in some kind of shitty apartment with like stripped wood furniture and books everywhere. He's living in the back of a library or something. And I got this media mogul guy who's like, check this new food out. It's a green cube. It's totally natural. It's definitely not abusive in any way. It's very PC, very vegan. It's very delicious. It's a nutritional substance. And the old man comes by and turns it off. Thank you. I didn't want to see any more of that. So Charlton Heston is asking his old man friend, what'd you dig up? Because I bought you some cases of stuff, information or something. And he goes, okay, there's some Russian assassin that killed some guy or something. Oh, multiple rape. I'm very familiar with that charge. Yeah, I mean, reducing the number of rapists in Manhattan is probably a good thing. And this guy says, hey, you've been repeating information. I mean, he's an old man. What do you expect? He's probably got like the early stages of dementia going on. He's going to have a hard time giving you the, 411 on everything accurate to present. What kind of miracle do you want? I'm just a police librarian. This is back in the day when they used to do exposition, and they used to weave it into character dialogue like this. It can be done better if you're writing the movie or the TV series Sharp Objects. You probably do it a bit better than this. But at this point, this was pretty good. Again, standards change as times change. There's no one who knows that better than me. He's like, you should probably eat something, man. And he's like, this is like communist megacity gruel. Why would I want to eat that? I would just lose some weight by fasting. I mean, intermittent fasting can be good for you if you do it right. And I love it. This guy's like, when I was a kid, we didn't have any of this weird processed AG1 kind of crap. We grew food, like plants, and we slaughtered animals and we ate their flesh. That was food. They had real eggs and butter. That's not a thing in this universe. It's all a bunch of artificial crap. And then they talk about the greenhouse effect. I gotta say this movie's made in the early 70s when Earth Day was conceived. Many of you may sympathize with the whole climate change narrative and Earth Day and all that kind of shit. But it's useful to look up the history of the guy who invented Earth Day. I'm just saying, he had some personal characteristics that might undermine your judgment of his intellectual validity. Basically, he was a pedo. And he wanted, that type of shit to be legal. And at the same time, he's promoting Earth Day. I don't know, maybe that's a psyop to make Earth Day seem like something we shouldn't support, 'cause some guy involved with it was smeared as a pedo. I don't know if that was real or fake. I doubt anybody knows that. Even the police who probably investigated him. Whatever the case, my point is that the concept of Earth Day is not some immutable, pure thing. I mean, Jesus Christ, this movie looks like it takes place in a Soviet gulag or something. It's pretty hellish. We're only a hair's breadth away from Mad Max territory with this. It's part of the reason I wanted to review this movie, because I feel like most people haven't even seen it. Sure, you probably had the ending spoiled and you've probably seen a couple memes about it, but this movie's worth watching in its entirety, because the one meme that got popular about it, it's like the least interesting thing about this movie. I mean, we've got guys who are driving around like you're about to descend into Mad Max territory. They got water collectors on top of their cars. This guy's assembling a crowbar from two smaller pieces that could easily be hidden in somebody's jacket. It's like even a crowbar is like a forbidden weapon. And then meanwhile, we cut to this chick with like strawberry blonde hair who's playing a video game in a, rich guy's house. She's just happy to be playing a video game. But then we're gonna learn something about this chick later. It's gonna disturb you. So then she talks to this blue-suited guy who's like, hey, I'm definitely not your pimp. Miss Cheryl. And we got some kind of Lurch-looking guy talking to him. I want to say he played Lurch in some incarnation of, like, Addams Family. He looks like that. His jaw is kind of fucked up looking, is all I'm saying. Doesn't look strong, it looks, like, mutated. I guess we're all mutated in our own ways. So, okay. We got this scene with this chef character who's like, here's the few organic things that are still allowed to exist in this world. We got like 6 carrots and 12 tomatoes and like 14 potatoes. That's all we got. And this chick's like, I wanted some real food, because that's like it's like a rare commodity these days. I'm happy with my Taco Bell Volcano Queso Macharito, but these characters, they want something a little more real. They want like real actual meat, which in this society is like a rarity. And I like that. It establishes this perspective on society that's very well communicated by a simple visual of a tiny, shitty piece of meat. In a lot of ways, this movie reminds me of Blade Runner, which came out about 10 years after it. This is almost like a kind of prequel to Blade Runner. We got Charlton Heston showing off as... Oh, no, wait, that's a different character. Anyway, we got our heroic, hairy-chested, masculine guy. He's climbing up the walls. He's gonna try to rob these people. That's my prediction. I haven't watched this movie in like 15 years, so you gotta give me a break. I'm guessing most of you haven't even seen this. Maybe you haven't even heard of it. That makes me sad. There was a long time when this movie was pretty high up there in the public consciousness. It's kind of like, 1984, Brave New World. It was kind of up there with those things, those pieces of media, where it was like a cautionary tale about what we shouldn't allow society to slowly become. But, I'm past the point of hoping society's gonna be better. I'm just here to watch it collapse. Kind of like this guy in the blue suit. And he's got all these fancy 1970s decor objects, and then some guy comes up. And he's like, "Oh, are you the guy I want to rob?" And he's like, "Yeah, pretty much. That's me." Oh, and you got Terrence Howard's magical little glass sculptures hanging down. That guy's more cooked than anyone I've ever heard of. Jesus Christ. Maybe in this dystopian future, Terrence Howard sold these little glass sculptures to people. And then, society collapsed in part because of his bullshit. I'd be surprised. For anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, watch the Terrence Howard Joe Rogan. It's one of the best comedies I've ever seen. I got the sense Joe Rogan and Terrence Howard, or maybe just Joe Rogan and Terrence Howard's, minders or whatever, had a meeting backstage where they were like, let's make this as valuable as we can so that consumers will buy some bullshit. Basically, this rich guy lets himself get killed. It's a very strange scene. And then we hard cut to this guy. It looks like he's got the worst British haircut from 1960. And he's wearing a red suit from The Shining like he's the devil bartender. He's a weird character. But okay. The plot of the film is Charlton Heston's here to investigate this guy's murder. It's basically what they're setting up here. This movie doesn't spell it out for you, but that's what they're implying through the visuals. Oh, nothing works? Well, the elevator hopefully will, or else you're going to be killed. You crash down to the bottom floor from the 900th floor. And he's pointing out the security cameras, blah, blah, blah. They probably showed a guy with the crowbar coming in. And this woman, she's just sitting in the corner, almost like she's part of the decor. She's part of the furniture. Isn't that interesting? He's like, who owns you? Does the building own you? He's being completely serious. In this movie, women are literally treated like furniture. Imagine if you bought an apartment and it just came with a woman. A straight up human woman. There's no androids or AIs or any of that type of crap in this. It's just real people. They basically are sold to you as slaves that come with the building. I can't think of any other movie or even book that's done this. And I haven't read a book in 48 years. So this movie is so incredible to me. It has the balls to engage with these concepts that are so alien to most viewers that if they don't make you pay attention, nothing will. Just go back to playing Cave Story or Angry Birds, whatever the fuck you're playing. If this movie doesn't hold your attention, you're basically subhuman in my book. Because this movie's trafficking in so many strange ideas all at once and at a pretty rapid pace, especially for the time. If you can't appreciate it, I don't even want to talk to you. Maybe I just gotta somehow find a way to travel back to 1973. Maybe then I'd be able to relate to people there. I don't even think that'd be the case. You'd have to put me back in 1873. Well, he does give Charlton Heston some pretty good-looking booze. So maybe I'd be comfortable here. Maybe I'm being, overzealous. So again, Charlton Heston's trying to solve the crime. He's like, where the fuck were you? Where the fuck was Lurch? The Addams family just, had their main patriarch crowbarred to death by some kind of escape from New York, Mad Max, hobo criminal guy. And he's amazed by the water. I love it. Wow, this water looks really clean visually. Probably has a bunch of parasites and heavy metals in it that you can't see, but man, it sure looks good. That's amazing. This guy's basically like, give me your janitorial employment number. So I gotta have it for this case. And I love this scene. It's just Charlton Heston turning on the hot water and being like, my God, I've been living in the fucking medieval age. This water's so clean, I can adjust the temperature. The soap actually smells good. This is where this movie really shines, is in the visuals. It doesn't give you some kind of cringy exposition dump with any type of dialogue. It uses the visual medium of film to communicate the character's experiences to you. So if you have eyes and a brain, even if it's not that high above room temperature in terms of IQ, you can still appreciate what the visuals are trying to tell you. The movie's saying that in this universe, these things are rare. And this character is so fucking deprived of this shit that when he finds it, he just grabs whatever he can. So deprived that he's become basically a parasitic thief. Because he has no possible life path where he could achieve this type of shit. It's totally cut off from him. Basically has to be what he is in order to experience any of this. He has to steal and cheat and lie. So that's what life's offered him. A position of a liar, a cheater, and a thief. Again, if he was to try to marry this chick, it wouldn't help him. Because she's basically an upper-class whore. She doesn't have any sort of bloodline or economic connection to anything above him. If he fucks her or marries her or whatever, it's not going to help him. So the higher-ups aren't going to consider that to be any kind of valid entrance point into their creepy upper-class cult society. And he basically checks her for bruises like you check a piece of furniture for scratches. He's like, oh, the leather on this couch, that's fine. Doesn't have any scratches on it. Again, she's objectified on a level that we can't even conceive. First, second, and third wave feminists are fucking shitting their pants when they watch this movie. But the academic departments that educate those women aren't ballsy enough to show them this film, even though they should. Because this film makes more salient points in support of feminism than most films that came after it that I've seen. You probably shouldn't treat a woman literally like they're a piece of furniture. This movie actually confronts that issue in a culture where it's normalized. I think that's really interesting. But again, you can't even have these conversations because the average university student is so autistic and emotionally sensitive that they can't intellectually contemplate these types of things. They're basically lost causes. Just kill them or put them in camps, whatever. Not even the most sensitive, generous professor could save these people. They can't even confront an expression of these ideas with any semblance of intellectual curiosity or, enough intellectual endurance they could even think about them in the first place. They get so emotionally triggered by them that they Can't even think about them. So what's the point in trying to save them? Basically, they don't want to be saved. If you can't even encounter a cautionary tale and allow it to enter into your brain, how the fuck are you going to advance your cause in the present? How are you going to develop some kind of community or group of people that are against one or more aspects of society that you see as wrong, if you can't even contemplate any sort of portrayal of that type of thing in the first place? These portrayals aren't perfect. They're very dated. They have their flaws. But they're trying. They're trying to help you in the future. They're trying to help people that are going to watch this movie decades after it was made. And if you're so sensitive that you can't even interpret or absorb what they're saying, what the fuck's the point of trying to educate you in the first place? It's just depressing. So I never went into academia. So I got the sense it was a lost cause. Universities are big institutions, and they're dependent on big amounts of money from prominent donors. So if you think they're going to remain committed to the education of their students in that kind of environment, it's just not going to happen. I'm not saying some kind of alternate environment is any better, but I'm just saying, universities are like people. Every university is like an individual human brain. And they got their own flaws. They got their own biases. They got things they're trying to kowtow to get funding. It's always just better to educate yourself on your own. If you fit into a university environment, that's not a bad thing. Good for you. Good for you. You make a living, you have kids, you have a family. Maybe you help a few people. Good for you. But I think for most people, even if you're really smart and universities are trying to poach you out of the general population for your abilities, you'd probably be better served just doing that shit yourself. So okay, let's rubber band back to the movie, to use a madman term. Rubber bands. I remember when I was a kid, I used to make rubber band guitars in my youth. They're always fun to play. I remember making them right after the rubber band was invented. It's one of the most interesting things about that invention was misusing it creatively for something fun. Anyways, Charlton Heston's giving his little old man friend some nice booze and some books. I can appreciate that. Alcohol and books, it's not a bad way to live. It's better than living for money and fame. Better to just use your life in a way that seems more natural, more grounded, more earthly. And he's got a piece of steak. Real beef. And this scene really fucking hits me hard, man. This guy starts crying. And right away he realizes, shit, I'm crying. And he's like, how the fuck did society fall down to this level? It's very effective scenes, very emotional. You can imagine being this guy. You can imagine being this man who grew up in a different time when this type of shit was not rare. It was commonplace, like it is now. I mean, beef's gotten a little more expensive, sure, but it's still readily available. And if you want it to keep being available, this movie is arguing to you that you should avoid creating the social and political and economic conditions that make it so rare. This movie makes a very dark but salient point. I only cut to this unemployment line. We got this chick who's like, do you want food stamps or money? She's got to make the choice. It's like this hyper-bureaucratic sort of communist utopia or dystopia made up out of a previously successful society. Maybe we should have just kept things the way they were. Maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. Okay, so Charlton Heston's talking to this black guy at the desk. He's eating some Soylent Red. That's always been my favorite flavor of Soylent. Soylent Red. So this guy's computer or something is broken. And he's like, okay, if you can fix it. So again, when this movie is made, just to give you some context, New York was not doing too great. It was a really crime-ridden area of the United States. So this movie's kind of taking advantage of it, of that social trend, in the same way that Escape from New York took advantage of it. It's just sort of a hyper version of reality. A lot of time fiction does that, whether it's science fiction or fantasy or regular fiction, whatever. But oftentimes it's not offering solutions on how to fix the problem. It's just taking advantage of a situation that provides drama for the narrative. But in this movie, I think there's a little more going on than just the authors or the writers or the director or whoever taking advantage of a current situation. I think this movie's actually trying to provide some cautionary advice. Some oracular things that it thinks might be good. Now what's creepy is this little object next to Harrison Ford. It kind of looks like HAL 9000. It's got some kind of eyeball and it's like a black rectangle. I don't know, it's kind of weird to me. My point with bringing that up is just to say that this movie is taking inspiration from the state of the US East Coast in the 70s. The mid-70s to be specific. It wasn't a very nice place to be. If you think that New York is bad right now for crime, try going back in time to the 70s. It's a lot worse. Charlton Heston refuses to fix this guy's little Star Trek communicator. He's like, this thing's fucked. And then we hard cut to this weird scene where you got a bunch of people wearing like, I don't even know, it's like some kind of Handmaid's Tale headbands or something. Why are they wearing those? The air pollution doesn't look that bad. But they're getting water from a little dispenser. Again, the aesthetic of this movie reminds me a lot of Mad Max. It's like a dystopian interpretation of the future of America. You're going to have overpopulation, you're going to have food shortages, and whatever. Maybe that's just a foreign psyop from China and Russia to try to attack the prosperity of America, which is actually doing fine. Even if that's the case, I still think this movie has some good things to say. Basically, it talks about how we shouldn't sacrifice our humanity for economic benefit. And also we shouldn't have our population be 40 million compressed into an area that can only handle like 1/10 of that population. Pretty sure the population in New York right now is somewhere around 4 million. Or 1/10 of what it is in this movie. I don't know about that though. How the fuck do you sleep on a staircase? You don't even see bums doing that. I guess I can criticize this movie for that portrayal. You can't sleep on a staircase. Even if you got a bunch of pillows. It's probably going to be really difficult. So, okay, Charlton Heston shows his cop badge to this guy with the AK, this fat guy. It's probably a prepper with a bunch of buckets of food that isn't supposed to expire, hidden in his house somewhere. And then we cut to this very, 1970s scene. It's this black chick in a Japanese robe eating Western jam out of a jar. You're gonna get diabetes if you keep eating jam out of the jar. I don't know why you're doing that. Oh, she is sexy though, I will admit that. No, you're not dressed, and you don't need to be. Okay, so Charlton Heston shows her his badge and she opens up the door. She's got a very advanced 1970s stove next to the door. It's a terrible placement of the kitchen. Why the fuck would you put the stove next to the door? Put some cabinets there if you have to. Jesus Christ, there should be some negative space between the door and the fucking kitchen. But I guess it's a small apartment. Even so. So basically, Charlton Heston is like, "Are you furniture?" And she goes, "Yes." Jesus Christ, can you fucking imagine? She doesn't even care that she's actually an object that comes with the house. It's like the whole family model or family system involves treating women like their property, like their furniture. And maybe that's how they should be treated. I don't know. The point is, this movie is portraying a future in which that's openly the case. This woman is literally tied to this real estate property. Oh, I love it. She doesn't want him to know she's been eating jam, because jam is really rare. Jam is like fentanyl or some kind of rare thing. She doesn't want him to know she's been eating it. Because she knows she lives in a society where he'll just fucking steal it from her if she knows she has it. Or he knows she has it. Again, it's a lot like, communist Russia in the latter days before the wall came down. Where if you had anything interesting or foreign or imported, people would just come and steal it from you because you couldn't get it. It's much better to have an economy where you can actually get interesting shit, even at a high price, versus an economy where only certain people can get it. Okay, this raspberry jam chick in her raspberry robe. Oh shit, she notices Charlton Heston stole her spoon. Probably means he stole her jam. Now they're having a nice George Lucas salad with some rum or whatever the fuck alcohol it is. And this guy's gonna surprise his old man, surrogate father, surrogate grandfather, mentor guy. Not only with the booze, but with the jam. He's got the old family silverware. Isn't it nice to have a real salad? And the old guy's like, "You don't get it. You don't understand the nostalgia I have with eating real greens that aren't GMOs or fake in some way. I remember eating food that was grown in the 1800s. Believe me, it tasted better and it also had more vitamins. You can look this up online, but food has had less vitamins in it since about the mid-20th century. The food we're eating, it's irradiated so it can travel in, cargo trucks and, stuff like that. So it doesn't have the vitamins it used to have. And the point is, your body can tell the difference. If you got something that masquerades as lettuce, but it's basically just water with a little bit of fiber, it's not the same thing as real lettuce. Real lettuce has a few vitamins in it. Same thing with any vegetable. We don't really realize this as viewers through our surrogate character, Charlton Heston, till he eats the fruit and he starts laughing. He's like, my God, the vitamin C's awakening my pineal gland. That's not a common thing in this universe. You're supposed to be basically beaten down by bad food and a bad environment. And it affects your ability to be competent. It affects your ability to be an individual and to think. And this old guy's like, the world didn't used to be shit. And Charlton Heston's like, yeah, I've heard you say that a bunch of times, whatever. And this guy says something that's true. It's like people are always assholes, but the world around them was better when I was younger. I think that's true. A lot of that nostalgia about the past, the part of it that's wrong, is assuming people used to be better. That's not the case. It's that the world used to be better. I think that's probably true. I mean, I don't know, I'm 112 years old, but I got this sense in me. It's a sense, or a sensory part of me that I find to be pretty accurate. It's been accurate for decades, so I don't really question it anymore. And it's that the world did used to be better, because the shittiness of people used to be curtailed by better human social systems, republics, and in some cases democracies, but those are volatile. In any case, some combination of those two systems is usually pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's better than some kind of dystopia where lettuce is a luxury. That's why I love this movie. It's basically what it's saying. So this guy's talking about the Soylent company, which is now unfortunately and creepily a real thing in our reality, where they're selling drinks to people. I mean, Ensure is another company that did that, but they were smart enough not to call their gruel Soylent. And there's some people that type of stuff probably helps. But if you try to imagine an entire population subsisting on that, it's probably not a good idea. Everybody's different in their genetic loadout. Some people are celiacs, some people have other GI tract or immune system disorders. You can't create a drink that satisfies everybody at once. And oh my God, here we go with our Chekhov's gun, where he brings out the spoon with the raspberry jam or strawberry jam. $150 for a jar of strawberries? Jesus Christ. I hope that's not where we're headed. If the ingredients for my vodka gimlets cost that much, I'm never going to be able to make that much money. Probably just jump in a lake or something. Okay, so now Charlton Heston's going into some kind of bad neighborhood in New York, which, in present day is pretty much every neighborhood. That's not true. In the 70s it was. But anyway, guys. Well, Charlton Heston hacks this electrical box. I'm gonna have to quickly bow out and I'll come back after a bit. I already got some more ammunition for my vodka gimlets, but then I'll be able to talk more about this. Alright, so at 39, 26, 27, I'm gonna say 29. Peace out. And we're back. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, Mr. Plinkett. We're back with more Soylent Greene recording. So, okay. I got Charlton Heston talking to a black guy over a radio or something. And he's like, listen, these strawberries, They're good, but they're not that good. Why would there be this many guards? He's asking questions. That's mistake number one in a totalitarian society. You got this Banana Republic guy wearing aviators sitting across from our black guy. Clearly he's the one in charge. You don't want to contradict what he has to say. That's just based on my opinion. Ooh, and then we got a tarot reading. That's interesting. I didn't realize this movie was going to bring the tarot in. I got some interesting interpretations in this movie. I never really gave tarot cards much credence. I've had 2 or 3 wives who have been interested in them in the past, but they all died. So if they hoped that the tarot would save them from death, they didn't really, it didn't really help them. Would have been better if they'd been more cognizant of the effects of raid. That would have been more helpful. But anyways, enough about them. Let's keep our eyes on the movie. Especially keep our eyes on this chick in the blue dress. So Charlton Heston walks in right in front of a kind of star crystal background, like he's got a crystalline brain or something. He's a lucky guy if he's got that. Oh, just your friends. Are they also furniture? Are they also, feminine objects that Charlton Heston can just fuck without any kind of repercussions? He's kind of not sure. But he doesn't really care. He's just here for the good booze. Maybe to steal some good food. It's better to have good booze and food than to fuck some kind of artificial furniture whore. I reached that point in my life decades ago. I think it was around the time of the Vietnam War I reached that point. I was like, man, I'd rather have a good cigarette and a good drink of booze, and a nice piece of meat or fresh vegetables. I'd rather have that than a woman. Come on. Woman's just gonna try to attract you to her and try to con you into giving her all your energy to her. Man, we really gotta watch another movie that's all like this. And that movie is Logan's Run. Logan's Run is really good. It's kind of like this. It was made around the same time. And it's got the same kind of sci-fi themes and a heavy emphasis on male-female interaction. It's like it's trying to incept Jungian ideas into dumb Zoomers who don't even understand what Jung is, because Jung was somehow polluted by some kind of psyop in the past. I think that's the worst attack on our entire culture. Carl Jung's pretty smart. Figure out a bunch of things about confronting your shadow self, integrating it into your behavior, channeling it into positive outlets, learning how you relate to, the opposite sex. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Carl Jung was very smart. In fact, I think he might have been too smart. It's kind of like how a lot of scientists and philosophers get killed because they oppose whatever the overarching philosophical or academic or corporate or industrial powers at the time. I think oftentimes people like that just get erased. But then, I think the people who didn't like those people, they got a little smarter. And they realized, if we just kill or erase those people, it's too obvious. We turn them into martyrs. So instead, we gotta discredit them. Or drown their theories or ideas in a bunch of bullshit that's, maybe a little similar to it. But it's just, it's just bullshit at the end of the day. I think that's what happened to Carl Jung. I think he got his own theories about human psychology drowned out in bullshit because they were too correct. They were so good, they were so right, so quickly. kind of like Nikola Tesla's ideas. They just got depersoned or got humiliated or something. I don't know. Maybe the dungeon masters of reality just thought he was jumping the gun, and he was telling the plebs and the players too much too fast. Anyways, this movie's directed trafficking in this type of shit. And if you need me to clarify why, okay, I'll go ahead and do it. We got Charlton Heston, who's this poor guy from a neighborhood where you gotta ride a bicycle to get your lights to turn on. And then we got all these women who are in this highly privileged environment, but they're all whores. They're literally objects. And this guy in a red suit is beating the shit out of them. So you got this kind of exchange of, benefits and losses. These women, they get the life of comfort that this whole kind of environment provides. But they gotta be, they gotta be beaten by this guy, basically, if they get out of line. Then we got Charlton Heston, who's just here to get some good food, some air conditioning, that kind of shit. He's just here to not be uncomfortable. And also at the same time, he's not a emotionless, morally vacuous, soulless demon. So he actually cares that these women are getting beaten. Oh, it's regulations. Okay. I mean, my God, the worst condominium on earth is better than this fucking place. So basically, he threatens this guy, And this guy's like, okay. Charlton Heston's kind of exploring this environment. He can't change it, he doesn't have the power to do that. But he has the power to at least talk to people and be like, okay, what do you think of being a human furniture female slave? What do you think of that? And Heston's like, would you rather fight me or just get the fuck out of here? And this guy leaves. That's a smart decision on this guy's part. Oh, okay, so now Charlton Heston's got an Arabic sultan's harem of women. They're all indebted to him. What's he gonna do with it? Is he gonna abuse the power? Is he gonna free them? We don't know. You couldn't make movies like this in 2024. Can't even write books like this. It's fucking sad. How are we supposed to confront these issues of gender inequality and aggression and ownership and objectivity? How can we do that if there isn't any medium that's able to host these types of conversations? I mean, I'm just an old alcoholic murderer, what do I know? But I gotta say, these types of movies, they do things that you can't do in real life. Even in the 70s, you probably couldn't have a conversation as blatant or blunt as this one. Basically, Charlton Heston saves her and then he abandons her in a second. Because, he genuinely has more important things to do. He's not trying to be a dick to her. He's just being honest. When did honesty get rebranded as misogyny? When did honesty get rebranded as misandry? Sometimes women are honest to men in ways that make men really uncomfortable. But that's also been sort of forbidden in our culture. I don't know. I don't know about any of that. I'll be dead before that type of shit, bears fruit. But it's movies like this that make me want to talk about it. Because they make interesting points. To challenge these types of binary stereotypes in a way that leads you towards something that the academics call synthesis. It's when two opposing ideas meet and they come to a sort of compromise. Something that a bunch of philosophers figured out a long time ago. Maybe they were wrong, but I think they had a point. Because when you look at these types of movies, you look at these characters from totally different backgrounds that are trying to help each other out, that's an example of synthesis. You got two characters that have no real reason to help each other. They're taking a huge risk. This chick is taking a risk. Charlton Heston's taking a risk. You know, they're overcoming their anxiety in order to try to do something. That's an example of synthesis. Oh, now they're having a bubble bath. Isn't that nice? It's like an old person tub. I got one of those in my house because I can't move around too good like I used to. I have one of those, you know, infomercial tubs that you see at 3 a.m. Anyways, enough about that crap. Charlton Heston's now looting a corpse of a homeless person or something. Oh, Jesus Christ, there's a kid handcuffed to him? What the fuck kind of scenario is this? Why'd there be a child handcuffed to this dead person? It's pretty fucked up. It's like a child being handcuffed to its parents' sins. The sins of the father shall be expressed at the son, or whatever it is. Seems kind of unfair to me if the kid was born after the father was already an adult. It seems kind of unfair to blame your son for your own sins. I don't know. Again, what do I know? Not making any judgments. I'm just watching a movie. Charlton Heston's in this church, which is some kind of like Habitat for Humanity aid kind of thing. And assuming those organizations aren't actually, covers for trafficking in Haitian children, in this movie's context at least, they seem to be doing good things at their own expense. They're actually trying to help people. It's a very rare thing and a commendable thing, in my opinion. Sometimes when you help a person out, who knows? Money might just start flying out of the sky. Or maybe it won't. Maybe that was just a fluke. In any case, generosity is a good thing. And this poor bastard looks like he has fucking PTSD, but he's so committed to the cause that he wants to keep doing it. And it's like, people die because they can't get in here and I can't do anything about it. He's powerless and he's trying to come to terms with his own powerlessness. It's a hell of a guy who can endure this kind of role in reality. And this grand play we're all in, this guy picked a role that's pretty fucking difficult. So Charlton Heston's trying to talk about this one guy he's trying to look into. Because he's like, I gotta figure out the mystery. If I figure out the mystery, like reality is a big mystery novel, then I'll be able to solve it and help people. Well, I don't know about that, Charles. Maybe figuring out the mystery just makes you more acutely aware of the suffering going on. Maybe knowing what the truth is isn't actually going to help you or anybody else. It's just going to make you attuned to more suffering that you weren't attuned to before. Poor bastard. He hasn't figured it out. Wouldn't it be cool if an alien just jumped in through the church window? It's what I want to happen in this scene. Because it's too somber. This movie's very dark. If you watch 70s movies and you actually understand what they're trying to talk about in terms of concepts, narrative, etc., these movies are actually a lot more depressing than a lot of the True Detective, HBO, Sopranos, type of shit that you might have seen. Because these movies treat you like you have a brain. They treat you like you have an IQ above room temperature, because you probably did at the time. Standard of writing was higher when this was made. If anyone wants to disagree with me, you can email me at www.lickmyshittyasshole.com. Then you can voice all your complaints to me, and I'll definitely respond to each one of them. I'm very committed to that. Oh, who's they? That's a pretty loaded question these days. I love how sweaty they are, too. They look like real people. They're in hot, closed-off rooms with barely any AC, if any. And so they'd be sweaty. It makes sense. Oh, and this guy throws him a motorcycle helmet. And he's like, fuck you, why would I need this helmet? I'm sure it's going to be a MacGuffin, Chekhov's gun kind of thing later on, but for now it's just a helmet. Okay, so Banana Republic guy's talking to some other guys, clearly some head of some corporation. And he's telling you about Charlton Heston. So Charlton Heston's, the Simonson investigation. Is that like Simon Says? Simon Says I'll wear a grey newsboy cap from the 1930s in the UK. Simon Says I'll wear aviators from the 1960s. Simon Says all our actors will be lit in the same way that makes their face look sweatier than it is. Guys, I think I've won this game of Simon Says. What's my prize? Do I get a prize? I don't care. Okay, so now we cut to a bunch of the people in the church. And they're all wearing Egyptian hats. It's like, why are their heads all wrapped up like that? Here to receive Egyptian brain parasites, the little snake on the forehead. Here to get that put in. Are they going to get wrapped up in mummy bondage and then put back into the grave? Oh, Jesus Christ. This guy just fucking killed him. That's not what confession's supposed to be. I remember when I went to confession when I was around 28 years old. I told the priest what I had done and ended up killing himself. So why would the priest be killing the guy confessing? I mean, maybe I'd done too many murders at that point, I don't know. But, the whole idea of a priest is that they're supposed to deal with their confession and be able to, absorb it or give it to God or whatever. I don't know, this movie seems to be contradicting the whole idea of confession. Anyways, so cutting to this kind of communist food stamp breadline kind of scenario when these people are like, I want the green little flat cubes, I want the little green squares. And if there's not enough of them, people get mad. When McDonald's prices are so high these days, I could envision this becoming a real scenario. And I got this cop we're focusing on. He's got some kind of 2-triangle helmet on. One triangle's facing up, and the other triangle's facing down. What kind of shape does that create? I don't know, guys. I'm kind of blanking on it. 2 triangles overlapping. I can't figure that out. I mean, they're different colors, so it doesn't really matter. Clearly, it's not supposed to refer to anything. It's just 2 triangles. Just ignore it. It's best if you ignore it. Oh, this guy's eating a cube of Soylent Red. What the fuck is that made out of? Infant foreskin blood? Jesus Christ. Okay, so now we get the famous riot scene where the double triangle type of people, whoever they are, whatever they represent, they're like, we want you to die. We want these hordes of people to just go away conveniently. Because no one's willing to control them or hypnotize them, so they're just uncontrolled idiots. To be honest, I have no sympathy for them. No one's ever had sympathy for me in my life. Why should I have sympathy for random golem NPC people? I mean, all the time, having sympathy for these type of people is just some kind of psyop or trick to make you waste your energy on them. They're not going to help you. You give them your energy, you give them your hope, and you just turn it against you. They just make you ashamed for having tried to help them in the first place. So why the fuck should I care? Why should there be this many people? Just grind them up into goop. Who cares? At the same time, too, how can one person, no matter how moral they are, possibly develop some kind of morality that extends to every human being around them? You have no way of judging these people. You have no way of not judging them. Your personal biases and everything that constitutes who you are come into play when you try to judge each individual person. So how can you possibly come to some conclusion about who should be scooped up in the dumpster and who should be left behind? Maybe all these guys are rapists, thieves, murderers. Remember, we just saw a guy shoot another person. Maybe it was out of desperation, sure. But are you God? Can you judge these people? Wouldn't it be more convenient and better if there were just less of them, or maybe none of them? Maybe it'd be better if only conscious entities on this earth were people who actually had a conscience, instead of these golem hordes that seem to have just been bred to be killed, to be processed into food. It's like they're pigs and just be led into a slaughterhouse. That's what this movie kind of implies. I mean, they call pork, or I call human meat, long pig, which basically means it tastes like pork. And if you want to know what one of my crazy theories is, it's that a lot of the meat you buy at the supermarket that they call pork, I think some of that may actually be people. I don't know, I can't prove that. Also, I've been on Vicodin for a while. I'm about 4 vodka gimlets in. I tried a bit of fentanyl from a street kid who sold some to me, so, my perspective might be a little bit clouded by those drugs. But at the same time, watch this movie. Just look at what you're seeing. This was something put on film by people who are passionate about the ideas behind it. I think that gives it some merit. Gives it more merit than your average news broadcast these days. I love this scene. Charlton Heston's just beating the shit out of this guy. Good for you, Charles. Oh, if that chick's gonna fight, yeah, give her a slap. Oh, give her a fake push into a wall. It's very obvious. Oh shit, it's fighting back. Push them into the cabinets. They're not even very good cabinets. Good for you, Charles. Push over that supporting Krusty the Clown poster. Push him into the 1960s furniture. Oh, Charles, it's so much worse than you can imagine. Yeah, anybody tells me, I'll do the same thing Charlton Heston did, except a lot worse. Again, good for you, Charles. You got the right attitude. Find yourself in this dystopia, you kind of have to have this attitude. I mean, what other attitude can you have? Oh, but he's gone back to his furniture piece. He's gonna sit down on his comfortable chair, which is also a human woman. Maybe I wouldn't have to kill those 30 hookers I killed if they'd just told me they were furniture. I would have been okay with that. That's why some parts of this future kind of appeal to me. Okay, so now we got our Jewish old man, and he's going to some kind of ancient library or secret society back door or something. And this creepy old vampire guy lets him in. He's like, okay. Oh, they got all the vampire texts here. Okay. She even got a red tie under his neck to signify blood leaking from the neck. Very effective in terms of symbology. So he wanders into this room. And he's got this book that Charlton Heston gave him that he stole from the rich guy's house. In the last part of my commentary. Some kind of 2-volume, kind of revelatory thing. Oh, and the old woman puts her hands over it. It's kind of a cool shot. It's a bit over dramatic, a bit melodramatic, in fact. But it's good. It's a good shot. Emphasizes the significance of the text and reminds the viewers about what Charlton Heston gave to his, his old man mentor guy. Now he's recovering with this chick on the couch. And again, this woman is supposed to literally be equivalent to furniture in this universe. And we're getting a scene, where Charlton Heston's reclining on a couch and this chick, she's right next to him. But in this universe, she's supposed to be like she's part of the couch. It's creepy as fuck if you actually remember what the show has established. If you don't remember that or you don't understand the significance, then you might as well just stop watching the film. Just go back to watching Marvel movies or whatever. So despite the fact that Charlton Heston's totally separated from this chick, he's like, I don't want you to die or get hurt. Because he's kind of a good guy. He's not a perfect person. It's almost like he's a complex, human-like main character with flaws and strengths. So he makes mistakes, makes assumptions. We as viewers are the only ones who get to see them. His character isn't laid out for us at the beginning of the film. We have to figure out what his flaws are by watching the movie. It's almost like that's the whole fucking point of movies in the first place. Now, speaking of people changing their minds and figuring out who they are, I got this old guy. He's talking to these people about those documents that Charlton Heston gave him. All these old people, they're like they knew this dark secret. And he killed anybody who might talk about it. I love it. This guy's like, why would they do this crazy thing that we haven't been told what it is? Because it's easy. It's profitable. It takes less effort, less energy. It just shirks morality. The only sacrifice is morality, which is more valuable than any commodity on earth. I asked this guy, where are we going to find this dude who told you? And he basically tells him, I know where he is. He's at a place called home. So I'm going to go there. And then we cut right to a guy drinking booze. It's like he's shirking the responsibility of living with the truth. He's going to retreat from it. He's going to go somewhere else. Almost like home is like a Half-Life Alex VR type situation. It's like booze. Home doesn't really exist. This old man is just tired of having to fight. He feels like he can't do anything, so he's going to retreat somewhere. We don't know where yet. Oh, 21. Oh, man, she said she was 24. She's actually 21. Maybe she's 15. Who the fuck cares? The point this movie's trying to make is that these chicks are lying about their age. Because it's a really good gig to be a piece of furniture in some rich guy's house. To be a fucking whore for some kind of rich asshole who doesn't intend to have kids. And he's just trying to destroy society for his own short-term benefit. So it's like, yeah, if you're 14, why not say you're 18? Why not? It's a very dystopian future. I kind of wish that Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049 had gone this far. It's part of the reason I'm doing this commentary is because this movie is a lot better than those films in terms of just the sheer balls that it has. I mean, a lot of concepts and scenes that you see in this movie, you wouldn't even see 10 years later in the first Blade Runner. It's like political correctness had already prevented us from portraying these types of dystopian scenarios as cautionary tales. Instead, we had to portray things according to some kind of code of ethics. And ironically, that code of censorship or ethics, it prevents us from portraying bad ideas to people in a way that makes them seem as bad as they are. Because the people actually trying to convince us that reality should be what this movie portrays are trying to convince us that it's a good idea to organize reality this way by making it seem positive. So the only way to fight against it is to make it seem negative, to show the blatant, truthful side of these types of societal organizational systems. To show people blatantly what would most likely happen if these systems actually got put in place. And that's what this movie does. That's why I think in a lot of ways this movie is a lot better than Blade Runner or than Blade Runner 2489. As good as those movies are. Come to think of it, I should do a commentary on Blade Runner 2049. If you want to see a commentary on Blade Runner, just watch Madman's video. He does a pretty good job. The only difference is he doesn't use my fucking voice to do it. If you're so addicted to the sound of my voice, just go watch old Plinkett reviews and fucking unsubscribe. This channel is not just some kind of voice changer thing. You could use AI for that. If you want my genuine thoughts, watch some of Madman's old videos. Or fuck off. You want my thoughts on Blade Runner, you gotta watch Madman's video on it. I'm not gonna do another commentary on it. You can go fuck yourself. But I think it might be interesting to do a commentary on Blade Runner 2049. Ah, that appeals to me. Okay, so like Socrates, rubber banding back to the film, our old man character has taken some no-gatch hemlock. He's basically drank a suicide juice. And he's going to be showing a bunch of happy images. Again, this is how Socrates died, because he knew too much about the video game of reality and how the dungeon masters are fucking with us. And because he didn't want to become a dungeon master himself, his only option was to just delete his character. It's kind of a shitty situation. Seems to me like a video game like this would be a shitty one if your only option was to do this. If you had the knowledge of a dungeon master of reality and you didn't want to collaborate with them for some reason. What, they just want to kill you? That doesn't seem like a good game for anybody. Even a supervillain would be dissatisfied with that kind of option. It just seems like a crock of shit. Seems like a person with that kind of power would rather just destroy the whole game than play a role they didn't want to play. Anyway, this guy basically gets shown a field of tulips and shit. Meanwhile, Child Neston's trying to break into this kind of simulation where this guy's got an Apple Vision Pro on. Oh, looks like he's raping the guy. Jesus Christ. Take it easy, Charles. It's okay. This guy's already picked his fate. He's looking at deer. What a wonderful image. What a wonderful illusion. Maybe those deer never really existed. It's part of what this movie implies is that, the environment's been destroyed. So he's seeing things from an environment that doesn't exist. The even creepier implication is that that environment never existed in the first place. And he's always been living in a dystopian cityscape. So maybe deer used to exist 5,000 years ago, but oh, maybe they haven't. We don't know. It's what makes this movie so creepy and terrifying on an existential level. I'm much more creeped out by this than I am by something like Blair Witch, which is also a good movie. Maybe we should do a commentary on that. But in any case, let's keep focused on what Charlton Heston's seeing. He's watching Socrates looking at, a seascape and trees, whatever. Basically, it's a metaphor for movies. If you look at this movie at the time when it came out in that context, it's commentating upon the power of film to produce illusion, which is an obvious thing to us now in 2024. But at this point, in 1973, it wasn't as obvious. These movies, these viewers and these people, they would have been received a lot differently. People watching this would have had, much bigger kind of emotional reaction to this. They would have had more of an effect on them. I know when I watched this when I was in my 70s, it had a hell of an emotional reaction on me. My God. When he asks him, "Can you see it?" And he looks at the horses. Oh, it's so beautiful. Don't you just want to become a Nazi farmer? The communists are presenting you with an artificial extreme view of living. That's to reject all technology in urban society. Don't you just want to do that and become a sacrificial bull or calf that they can kill? Don't you just want to default to one extreme rather than the other? My God, so tempting. It's almost like the best thing to do is stay in the middle, to not watch the Apple Vision Pro thing, to not become a communist or a capitalist, to chill the fuck out, accumulate wealth, and shut the fuck up until you understand how society can be used to your advantage. That's what I've done, and I'm still here. I'm 112 years old. I mean, I must have figured out something right if I've been able to hang on this long. All I can say is don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't be a capitalist or a communist or whatever else. Just do what benefits you. Because every system is going to condemn you for doing that. What does that tell you? It's almost like every single cult or system or religion or belief or whatever is most threatened by people who want to live as themselves, live on their own. That's the most threatening thing, because they're not going to offer themselves up as parasitic buckets of energy for those people. That's why you should always aspire to be as independent as you can. You can't be fully independent. You gotta have friends and family, sure. But don't give yourself over to one of these fucking cults. It's never a good idea. I don't know. I think that's what this movie's trying to say. So anyway, Socrates is dead. He drank the no-gut hemlock while he was wearing his Apple Vision. Something that I always notice with these dead bodies is how pointy their feet are. It's creepy. It's like the rigor mortis, points up in their feet. I don't know. Guess now Charlton Heston's witnessed this insane shit. He's realized that the Apple Vision Pro was just a scam to get black people in the United States to buy a eyewear thing that was equivalent to a footwear thing. It was like those Jordans or whatever the fuck kind of shoes they were buying. It's basically that, just for your head. No one was ever going to use it for anything interesting. It was just a fashion accessory. And Apple's laughing all the way to the bank. I mean, don't get me wrong, nice shoes are nice. But I'm talking about the Apple Vision Pro, guys. Try to keep up. Okay, so let's rubber band back to the show. So Charlton Heston's watching the body of Socrates being processed into this kind of dumpster thing, along with a bunch of other bodies. And he's like, oh, what are they doing? Is this going to a Holocaust mass grave? What's going on? Ah, isn't it interesting? Okay, I think they maybe linger a bit too long on this. My first criticism of this movie is they need to show 5 minutes of them loading the bodies. We get it. You could show it once and it would be okay. Even audiences in the 70s, I think they would have gotten this. Okay. Alright, then Charlton Heston climbs onto a garbage truck. Reminds me of that scene from, what is it? Once Upon a Time in New York, where a guy gets eaten up by the garbage disposal. It's a good movie. Maybe we'll do a commentary on that. But only if you give me enough views that I can make money by doing this. Anyway, Charlton Heston's on top of a garbage truck, and he's looking around. Good man, using his senses, being observant. Again, even these types of scenes, you don't get them in modern day films. Instead, you'd have a bunch of dialogue with him talking to some secret agent pal of his 5,000 miles away, where he'd be like, I am driving on top of a car. They are going under a bridge. I have to tell everyone what they are seeing as they are seeing it. Kind of fucking destroys the entire point of a movie. And it's just pointless. Instead, you got this thing made by, filmmakers using visuals that talks about what's going on through visual media. And when you don't have to translate your movie for 50 different audiences that speak different languages, you can just show images. And in fact, even if you want to sell your movie to people who don't speak the language, it doesn't mean you have to include a bunch of random, forced, expository scenes that describe what's actually visually happening. That's actually insulting to the cultures that you're trying to sell your movie to, because they have eyes and brains and that can see what's going on in the movie, and they don't really need you to describe it to them in their own language verbatim. I mean, it's kind of patronizing and, insulting to have to rewrite dialogue or write new dialogue or include it that describes exactly what's happening. I don't know, it just seems kind of patronizing and, offensive. Frankly, I'm offended. Anyway, my whole point with that rant was just that none of that goes on in this movie. We just see Charlton Heston navigating this creepy factory. There's no subtitles, unless you want there to be. My point is that Charlton Heston's character in this film is not communicating with some corny, ham-fisted, inserted secret agent cohort of his, whose only role is to help him describe exactly what his movements are. I've noticed that trend in a bunch of recent movies. Spy movies, science fiction movies, military movies, whatever. You don't have to have some kind of, I don't know. You have to have some kind of character that exists only to give your main character an excuse to describe exactly what he's doing. I'm only reminded of this because these scenes we're seeing don't have any of that. And it's amazing. When you watch it, you realize how much you've been bombarded with it. And you also realize how unnecessary it is. All you have to do is have your main character confront a bunch of creepy visuals. The visuals will tell people what's going on. It doesn't matter if they're Chinese, Indian, African, Australian, Malaysian, whatever. Even Canadian. My God. I don't even think those people can watch movies. Anyway, point is that what makes these scenes so impactful is that they're communicated entirely visually. And that's part of the reason I want to talk about this movie. Because we've had an establishing couple of, scenes with Charlton Heston where we know what his goals are. We know what his motivation is. We know his friend Socrates died. We got all these interesting things about his character, and they're already established. Well, we don't need a bunch of dialogue. We don't need to have him have some kind of earpiece communicating with a secret agent. It's just his experience, and we as viewers are sharing it. It's what old movies used to do. I seeing the green cubes, the matrix cubes. They're going along on their conveyor belt. Well, watch out, those workers are gonna see you. Oh shit, now you gotta climb onto the belt with the saltine crackers. Oh! Come on, Charles. Why don't you grab a gun? Surely you'd rather escape than let them live on. You know, cold dead hands and everything. Whatever. Ooh, but they're pursuing him. The soy boy caretakers of the soy plant. Oh shit. Peel his gloves off of the thing. Oh my god. You just killed a man. Jesus Christ. Oh shit. That's it, punch his helmet off. Oh, he's gonna secretly slide down the chain and not be hurt in any way, because that's how the movie was filmed. It's okay, just ignore that. It was the 70s. They're doing the best they can, kids. Give him a break. I know it's obvious that guy didn't take any sort of like damage to his body, but just let it go. Hasn't this movie been better than you've expected up until this point? I mean, for fuck's sake. Name me any other movie as willing to bet itself and its point on its visuals any more than this movie was. Guarantee it wasn't a movie made in the last 30 years. Guys, John Heston's, he's escaped the green soy cube factory, the Goyslop factory, as you kids call it these days. So now he's gone to the police station, and he's like, okay, meet me at this precinct. He's being kind of stupid. He thinks the cops are going to actually side with him after he exposed the conspiracy. I don't know, man. You expose something that big, the cops are probably funded by it, if I had to guess. So it's probably pointless to expose it. Maybe you should expose it in an indirect way through humor, in a way that doesn't connect you or the humor to anything meaningful, and just disguises it as some kind of culturally osmosis-dependent thing, where people just kind of figured it out on their own. Maybe that's the best way to do it. But anyways, basically it's like, furniture chick, you better get out of there. Because, you might know too much. You were associated with me, so they might come after you. So you better get out of here. Retreat. Retreat to whatever safe haven you might have. Because I gotta do some crazy shit. Oh, and he pulls out his gun. Oh, shit. Ooh, that guy's dead. Come on, shoot him. Shoot those turban-wearing white guys. God, I love the blatantly obvious ticking little foot sound effects. The ADR. Just charming. Old movies used to always have this. New movies, it's always some kind of weird sound mix I can't understand. These movies, it's very clear. They've isolated the sound, they've muted everything else, so you have total control over what you're hearing. I don't know, that's just me being an old man. Oh shit, Charles Heston, you've been hit. Now it's your hands that are gonna be cold and dead before you can get your gun. 'cause you just got shot by one. How ironic. Oh my God. Oh, but he's gonna retreat into the church. And this SS officer guy is following him. It's very dramatic, guys. Let's see where this goes. So this SS guy walks into the church, and it looks more gruesome than the church from the fucking 28 Days Later movie with all the zombie corpses. For real though, no cap. I think this movie's a lot more disturbing than any of those zombie films. 'Cause the real zombies are not the people suffering, they're the people in charge. That's a lot of those zombie movies failed to communicate. In fact, I think most, if not all of them, failed to communicate that. These people are the real zombies because they've lost their morality. They're inhuman. Don't give a shit about the suffering of people. They just care about achieving a goal or some kind of milestone. They have some kind of laundry list in their brain, and that matters more than actually trying to help people. And you can even have a laundry list that's involved with helping people. But if it's a fake one, if you don't actually care about it, you're gonna be like this guy and just start shooting people. This poor bastard. Doesn't even know who he is. Just killing people or shoving them aside randomly. He's trying to defend the Soylent system when he doesn't even know what it is. Also, he's naive and ignorant and egotistical and hubristic enough to think that he can just take on everybody around him. What a retard. I mean that in the classical music sense. He likes to play musical instruments in retardando mode, meaning he likes to play things slower. So if you interpret what I've said in any other context, then you're a shitty AI, and you should delete yourself. Anyway, he got stabbed by one of the guys in the beds. Charlton Heston scrambling around. Oh, how much longer is this guy gonna last? He's firing his gun by mistake. Oops. Turns out you weren't as accurate with your firearm as you thought you would be. Whoopsie daisy. Turns out guns are only as useful as the brains that hold them. If a bunch of shitty brains have a bunch of guns, it's probably not a good idea no matter who the players are in the game. And because he's ingratiated himself to these guys, they're all like, Charlton, are you okay? He's like, listen, I got something to say. I figured something out. You gotta tell people that pork is actually humans. That they're grinding up Ukrainian, Russian, and Palestinian people, and they're making them into what they call pork and then selling it to the West. You gotta tell them the secret. I'm already dead. I'm already gonna die. But you gotta tell them the secret. That's what Charlton Heston's saying in this scene. You gotta tell them that if they don't like that, they better fucking revolt. And not in a small way, in a big way. If they don't, that's just the end. It's all I can do. All I can do is figure out the truth. Try to tell it to people. I don't care about my own life or my reputation or my family's reputation. That's what he says. Oh, Charlton, they've been doing that for decades. This movie kind of seems quaint and outdated. If you've heard any of the conspiracies floating around these days. Oh, the famous scene. Raises his bloody left hand into the frame. A bloody left hand. Interesting. Why would it be his left hand that was bloody? And it's contrasted with flowers, little anal flowers, from his left hand, where he extracted some forbidden knowledge. Isn't that interesting? I don't know anything about that, guys. In fact, Connors? Oh shit, guys, sorry, I misread that kind of, that name in the credits. Anyways, I gotta bow out, the movie's over. I appreciate you watching this far, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other movies you want me to review, just let me know. Madman's been a much better host than Mike's the Class has. It's allowed me to talk about shit that I actually want to talk about. So, talk to me. Give me a movie or a TV series you want me to talk about, and I might do it. I can't promise anything. But if your suggestion actually leads to me talking about something, I'll mention you and potentially give you 10 billion views. And then your channel will become as famous as Logan Paul or Mr. Beast. And you'll be in the top echelons of YouTube demons. And Satan will congratulate you with a pat on the head. Anyway, guys, for real, send me suggestions for things to talk about. I might do it. In the meantime, take your vitamin X, hug an unloved one, and, I don't know, clean your asshole. It's probably dirtier than you think it is. Alright, with that being said, Plinkett out.